New technologies are really changing the face of banking all around the world. We're talking notably about open banking, APIs, cloud banking. Now, I'd like to ask you, where do we stand in the MENA region and in your specific countries, and what these technologies are changing for you as bankers? Now, I'd like to direct the first right to respond to Leonie Lethbridge from CBQ.
Open banking is to some degree a misnomer, and we're actually at risk of confusing ourselves and actually taking a wrong strategic direction when we refer to open banking. Because what we're really talking about is open flow of data about the clients, data about their financial transactions, and data about their assets. And whilst we as a bank have been offering API-based, let's say open banking-based solutions for more than 4 years in the form particularly of remittances, and we have for instance, a 60-second remittance product which can deliver cash flows to billions of accounts literally within 60 seconds. And this is available to clients real time. But I think that if we talk about open banking more generically, or open financial data more generically, I think we will be thinking about the landscapes in which we're operating, and frankly, the opportunities that we have and the threats that we will face. If we think about those those opportunities and threats, effectively we're operating, for instance, in an e-commerce landscape. And, thinking about the Chinese banking system, more than 90%, probably 99% of those domestic flows do not happen through the domestic banking system. They happen through e-commerce or the tech giants. And I think as banks talking about open banking, we're at risk of misunderstanding the context in which we are now operating when we're talking about open data flows. So, we need to be thinking first and foremost about what data do we have available to us, what opportunities and needs do our clients have, how do we deliver those services in a way which are seamless to the clients in many contexts, because it's integrated into their daily lives. No one wants to think about their bank when they're thinking about buying something through e-commerce. They want to think about the product that they're buying. And it's incumbent upon us as financial services providers, in that case, to be almost invisible in the transaction and to provide really effective and efficient services. If we talk about transfer of funds overseas, the remittance context again, then we need to make sure that the point about trust in those data flows is extremely high, and that means reliability, that means security, and that means accuracy, as well as, of course, timeliness. So I think open banking is not an end, it's simply a means. It's not only a threat, it's also an opportunity, and it's fundamentally all about data flows and combining those data flows with great client experience.
Thank you very much for that. Now I'd like to turn to Wisam Mahmood, perhaps from Mashreq. Would you like to add something on this topic?
Yes, definitely. I think for us, the same really, what he said, it's a huge opportunity for us, especially if you think, obviously, data, where the data sits and how they actually, distribute it to the clients for, additional consolidation of data from their side, especially on the transaction banking and the corporate banking side. Obviously, every corporate bank with multiple banks themselves. So that hasn't been new. But on the cloud side, I think the cloud computing side, coming to the MENA, is maybe slightly behind what you would expect in developed market, but it's coming, and it's coming fast. Obviously, we'll adopt a more hybrid model initially. Some countries have a data residency kind of flows with a very specific requirements in terms of what the cloud means and what public cloud means. But essentially, it will happen. For us, a cloud, harnessing the power of cloud computing. What I mean by that is not necessarily putting your kind of monolithic system on a cloud server somewhere, but actually the distributed power of infrastructure, which you could actually really take advantage of. We're talking about reduction in infrastructure and cost by 85, 90%. We're talking about harnessing the power of development in the cloud. So development as a service. We have a program. We should be able to actually move a product from ideation to deployment in weeks, not months, not 6 months. In weeks, we should get it from. So basically, with automated DevOps services, we automated development, automated testing, and deployment to cloud. The second aspect of it is obviously deployment in branches overseas, which I'm sure we could talk about that more in terms of how the multi-tenancy part of the cloud, when we actually be able to package services and deploy them, multiple countries. So from that perspective, we see it as an opportunity. It's obviously commercial pressure coming in, especially again, wholesale banking maybe, and retail, obviously a prime example of that, where transaction volume increased significantly, but the margin of these volumes will reduce. So you expect to increase number of payments, but actually the margin or the fee you get from that is ever shrinking. And that will actually continue. This trend will continue to come. Therefore, the only way is investing in the stack, getting a very high margin and very low cost infrastructure. So from that perspective, this is where we think it's heading, and we actually think there's no way back from it, especially on the cloud side.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahmood. Now I want to turn to Abdullah Al-Mehri. How are you seeing things from Kuwait?
I can't agree more with Dr. Leonie and Mr. Wisam. It's happening, it's coming, so we should not look at it as a challenge or a threat as much as look at the opportunities that come from all these technologies. These are enabling technologies, definitely. Open banking, to be more specific, maybe it will further commoditize the services and products we're providing, but at the same time, it will let us focus more on other value-added services that we can work on and build on to cement our customer base further, rather than the threat of losing those customers. Cloud is, of course, it's very obvious the benefits of the cloud. In Kuwait, the central bank, the regulator, the main regulator for the banks, issued regulation to what are the requirements to approve, because we need any service or any cloud adaptation needs to be approved by the central bank. So there is acceptance in Kuwait from the regulator. The main, I would say, concern from regulatory perspective, and for us also, of course, is the security and safety of data. If we use any cloud solution, not necessarily the cloud computing or but again, there are many services now that are cloud native and cloud based, which at the beginning we were not allowed to utilize or use here in Kuwait, but now it's available and it's available to use. Now, security is, as I said, very important thing. So adding to what Mr. Wisam just mentioned, the DevOps, actually here we call it the DevSecOps. So we added the security element to it. I'm sure it's the same there, but for us, we gave it that name just to emphasize on the security aspect. So it's a DevSecOps from ideation to deployment in no time. So yes, we're benefiting from it. Any challenge, it's in reality an opportunity. Technologies are always welcome. It's changing the shape of the way we're doing business, but we should accept that. We should be ready for it, anticipate it, and react accordingly to continue being advanced among the competitors in the market.
If I may add, if I may add to this point, actually, I mean, I completely agree with Dr. Abdullah in terms of the security is a huge, I mean, is a central tenet of any bank, right? And we all care a great deal about this from that perspective. But in the cost of actually following all the trends and security protocols, it's significant for a bank, any bank. Right, therefore, the right partner in the cloud computing side is significant. Obviously, the significant players out there really have a significant infrastructure there. Obviously, we need to own our own kind of instance of that and make sure it's all secured to the bank standard and audited. But the investment they put in is actually remove burden from us themselves and be able to actually any security updates, things being taken care of. And that itself actually gives us an opportunity to innovate more. You know, the budgeting, you know, we have a kind of from a cost perspective, we can manage our infrastructure better. We have a good, you know, some of the partners there in the cloud world can actually really remove some of these burdens. They use in a huge institution around the world, and actually we'll be able to actually free up some of our capex, if like, to actually invest in the products themselves. So I think with time in the MENA region, circling back to what's specific to MENA region, I think there will be an acceptance and endorsement because the pressure of actually from us, you know, the existing bank to actually continue to invest unilaterally in these security protocol themselves, it's an unnecessary burden, in my opinion, and regulators will eventually accept that.
If you allow me just to come back on this, Chloe, agree, Wisam, definitely. For the public cloud providers, let's say Amazon and others, we had a discussion with the regulator, and the regulator's concern was not security. As you rightly mentioned, they are very much well invested in that area and in an excellent condition and shape. The concern was more regulatory in a way. For example, I'll give you one example here. The applicability of the Patriot Act. It's applicable on them. So whatever data that is considered, it should be under the secrecy of data within a jurisdiction. It cannot be shared. Unfortunately, those public cloud providers could not guarantee that they cannot share those data because of the applicability of the Patriot Act in the US. That's one example. So it's not security in terms of the technology security. It's more regulatory, I would say, aspect. But yes, from technology security, they are advanced and they remove lots of burden from us.
That's actually quite interesting because I think in terms of that removal of a burden, I think one of the other phenomena that's happened in the MENA region and frankly globally is the uptick of cyber fraud and frankly digital fraud, and there's been a massive uptick as clients have migrated online. So have fraudsters, and you know, in many of our countries, the physical security is actually extremely good. However, beyond our borders, there are groups operating who are targeting inside our countries. So I think that the need for not only extremely good cybersecurity, but extremely good digital fraud controls, yes, is expensive, but is also fundamental to how we as financial institutions service our clients, which is about trust. So I think we should not only respond to regulatory requirements, but we should also be thinking about what is it that we need to continue to do to differentiate ourselves and to help our clients help themselves and to protect them. In almost all of these situations, it's about identity theft, and so that means working very closely with clients to protect themselves and to protect the data that they are distributing. I think, as I said before, this is a lot about a data revolution, and so that that opens up the landscape in which we're competing. It creates opportunities for us. It creates new competitors. For instance, as I said, the big tech players, big e-commerce players, but it also creates new threats, including, as I said, digital fraudsters. So I think we need to be, super vigilant to achieve the benefits for our clients, but at the same time protect them.